Born ready. All right. Well, let's start then.
Okay, let's start.
Let's start. Guys, we're starting. Can you go to the next slide, please?
Oh.
So, welcome to this webinar about AWS IAM Policies, if I spell it correct. Today, we're going to start with a small introduction, of course. After the introduction, we'll introduce you to AWS IAM. After that, we share with you the best practices and tools. Then we go over to effective creation and deployment of AWS IAM Policies course. We created a course around this topic, of course, and then we will close up with a wrap up and a Q&A. So that's the agenda for today. So who are we? Let's start with me. I'm Petra the Niet. I'm a partnerships and marketing manager at Everable. From now on, our organization is called Everable. And before I was a partnerships marketing manager at Everable, I own my own development company for around 6 years. Over to you, Ion.
So I am Ion Arapu. You already may know me because it's not the first time I do webinar. So I am a DevSecOps located at Everable. I have a background in software engineering and cybersecurity. And here at Everable, mainly I'm developing courses. I'm also maintaining a couple of components on our platform. So this is pretty much it about me.
Yes, and then who is Everable? Who's the organization? Well, our aim is to make you hands-on in secure DevOps as soon and effective as possible, and we want to do it with your team because as a team you'll get more done than as an individual. Also, our courses are concise to fit your busy agendas. The minimum amount of theory is provided to get you started applying the concepts and tools in the hands-on lab. We created it. And our community powered courses from experts all over the world through our fellow program. So that's who we are. Yeah, so as I already mentioned, after this webinar, you get access to the course. This course is just 15 days to get free access and also to complete the course. One important thing, if you start the lab will run for 3 hours straight and you don't have, so after this 3 hours, this lab will be destroyed and you have no chance to recover it whatsoever. So be aware if you start the lab. Okay, on to the next. So this webinar, you see the loop, we are now in cloud security, right? And this is the part we're in.
Yeah.
With AWS IAM policies.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I guess let's start
yes,
with
the content.
Getting a basic understanding of what is AWS IAM. So its definition is AWS Identity and Access Management, and it's a service that is used basically to control access to resources on AWS. It's composed of users, roles, user groups, and policies. Usually, IAM users are used to grant access to users. Roles are used to grant access to AWS resources. User groups are used to grant access to a group of users that need the same access. For example, some basic user access that all the users in a company need is to be able to update their password and to enable MFA. And by default, they don't get these privileges when a user is created. And lastly, of course, the main thing in IAM is the policies, which are written in JSON. Here you can see on the right side of the slide simple policy in IAM, which, for example, the first statement allows to describe any on AWS, and the second one allows a user to run EC2 instances on AWS that are specific, are of a specific type, which is T2 micro, and also the resource should be in the region SA East 1 and on a specific account, which is like 11223. This is just an example. So now let's look into some IAM best practices. Here I have a list of I think most important best practices for IAM. The first one is we should always follow the principle of least privilege, which means that a user or a resource should get access only to the resources that they need to. If a user should be able to get access to some files in an S3 bucket, only in one S3 bucket, then you should get only that privileges. Otherwise, if the user gets too much access, then if the credentials are compromised, the hacker can get access to other resources that were granted by the IAM policy. Another best practice is to lock the root account access keys. So when we create an account on AWS, we usually get a root account. With that root account, we should create the admin account, and then we should store credentials somewhere safe. And when there is an emergency and we cannot use our admin account, we should use the root account to some specific action on AWS. Another best practice is to use user groups to grant access to, for example, the development team, if they need all the developers need the same access. It's this best practice is more for management purposes. It's easier to manage users. For example, if somebody leaves, you just remove them from the group and they lose their access. Another best practice is to delegate the temporary privileges using the AWS security token service. So, for example, if we want to grant someone permissions only for a specific amount of time, then we give them a token, and then they can access the AWS for a specific amount of time. Also, if we want to give access to an external entity, we can use the AWS single sign-on service, and then they can use the link to access our environment also for a specific amount of time. We should also create separate roles for specific tasks. For example, if we need, for example, to delete a S3 bucket, usually, we can have an account that will not be able to do that. So then we use a role that has these permissions in order to do this action. Also, it's a best practice to, if we create a role, you should also be able to assume it. So we should give the users the privileges to assume the roles. Another best practice is we need to enable MFA. If this feature will help us make sure if someone's credentials get compromised, then the attacker cannot most probably will not be able to pass through the first factor authentication, like the first step, just because they will not be able to, for example, get access to the authenticator app or to the SMS code that AWS will require when they want to log in. And the last thing is to never share the user credentials, because in some organizations, developers are creating one account and then they share their credentials to that account. This is a bad practice also because it's not possible to do audit. If the credentials get compromised, then we don't know why they got compromised and whose computer got hacked. Sorry. And then basically, if we use different credentials for different users, then we can make sure that we know what who was compromised. And now we got a question for you about how do you feel about the applying the principle of least privilege in your organization. So yeah, please
We have a poll, yeah.
launch the poll. Yeah,
launch the poll. We are curious.
our moderator.
So do you feel, yeah, moderator, launch the poll. So we have a question. Do you feel that following the principle of least privilege when granting access to users in your organization is easy? Is it easy? Yes, is the first answer, because we use tools and automation. Yes, we have enough expertise in-house. Or no, it's hard to follow the principle of least privilege. Or the last answer, I am not aware about it. Submit answer, please. What would you say, Ian? What would be your answer? Or what do you think that most organization has this in place or not?
Yeah, from my experience, it's quite hard to make sure that we follow the principle of least privilege, because usually in an organization, I think for the users, they will follow this principle of least privilege. But for example, when the developers are working with some resources on AWS, they most probably will give access to the resource. For example, they will not give access to a specific S3 bucket, which is file storage, to a resource, but they will give full access to that resource. And then if the credentials are compromised, then the attacker basically will have full access to everything.
Then you're lost.
And then and then especially if there is some confidential information, then this could be a big problem, I think.
Yeah. Okay, guys, let's say 10 seconds to answer, and then we can share the results. I also experienced in my past career that everybody makes everyone admin and all the credentials, because otherwise it's too hard and someone doesn't have access, and that slows down the process. I think it's good to have some policies in place. All right, let's share the answers. Moderator. Or can we have the answers. So 22% say yes, because we use tool and automation. Then on the second place, yes, we have enough expertise in-house. And the number one, the most and most applied answer, I think. No, it's hard to follow the principle of least privilege. So it is hard, but still mixed answer. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Let's continue.
Yeah, let's continue. Let's now look into some tooling that we can use for automating IAM policy creation and linting. I'm going to present you two open source tools, which are called Parliament and Policy Sentry. Parliament was developed by Duo Labs, and the Policy Sentry was developed by Salesforce. So let's look into Parliament. Basically, this is an open source tool that is used to lint IAM policies. It can detect issues like malformated JSON, missing required elements, if some actions are missing in the policy or are incorrect, if they are incorrect resources or conditions. And other things. Here we can also see on the bottom of this slide like a simple output from this tool. Usually you would use this tool if you have implemented in your organization infrastructure as code, or just if you want to write a policy and you want to check it if it has any errors. So in the course that you are going to get access to later today, you'll be learning about this tool and how you can automate it in a CI/CD pipeline. It is pretty simple tool and easy to use. you pass it the IAM policies input, and then at output it generates some errors or some messages if the or if the policy is good. And the next tool is the policy center. It's a tool that allows user to create a least privilege IAM policies in a matter of seconds. This tool usually you'll use to create policies for the resources on AWS, and you will use when you want to also for resources, but also you can use it for creating policies for users. So how does this tool work? So first you create a template using a simple CLI command. Then you should copy paste inside the template the IRN of resources, and lastly you pass this template as an input to the CLI command, and as output it generates a policy file. So what this tool can do, it can minimize the blast radius if a breach happens, because it uses the principle of least privilege. So it will grant access only to the things that the resource or the user should get access to. It can create secure IAM policies at a large scale because it's quite easy and fast to generate policies. You can use this tool to query the IAM database. So it will you need to Google or research on the internet some actions that are possible for IAM, and also it's constructed using the least privilege principle, and you can basically generate templates that contain IAM actions or CRUD levels. So I'm going to show you how a simple CRUD template look like in of policy center. So for example, here on the left we can see a CRUD template. When you will create it, all the fields where we have an IRN they will be empty. In this case, we added them for as an example. So here we can see that to grant access to a function, we want to grant access read access, we want to grant list access, we also want to grant wildcard only actions that don't support specific resources. So for example, you can see that we want to grant read permissions to all the Lambda functions. We also want to grant service list permissions to all Lambda functions, and we also don't want to skip resource constraints. For example, Lambda get function. If we don't put this action in the skip resource constraints, then it will be the get function will be allowed only when on the function test, for example. And also we don't want to give permission to list layer versions and list tags. So we put this under the exclude action. Right, we can see the how the policy looks like. Of course, this is just a part of the policy, because as you can see on the template, we have quite a lot of requirements. So the full policy doesn't fit on this slide, obviously. So next, I will show you how actions template looks like. It's a lot simpler, but the trick here is that you need to know what actions you want to create the policy out of. So in this case, we want to grant get user permission and tag user permission, and also on the top of the slide, I put the commands that you need to use to generate a template and to create the policy. So basically, the first command is create template, and we put what should be the name of the output file and the template tab. In this case, it's action. If we want to create a CRUD template, then we put the template type as CRUD, and then basically we pass, after we are done completing the template, we pass the template file as an input file, and then as output we get a JSON file. So here we can see on the right side the policy that it will generate. In this case, we should manually insert the variables with the $sign, because we didn't in the action template, we didn't specify the resource IRNs that this policy should be created for. So yeah, this is how it works. If you want to learn more about it, don't hesitate to try out our course. But before that, you need to register on our platform. So another thing, we have for you another question. If do you use any IAM automation tools in your organization? From the previous question, I already saw that some people use. So, but let's see what the people think about it.
Moderator, yeah, launch the poll. So we have 4 answers again, right? So do you use any IAM automation tools in your organization? So the first answer will be yes, we are using at least one tool. Second, no, we are exploring options. Third, no, IAM automation tools are not handy. Or the fourth answer, I am not aware about it. So we can all answer. What do you think? Does have a lot of companies and organizations use these automation tools? Do you think yes or no?
I think no.
No?
No.
Why not?
Because it's quite hard, I think, to do IAM management, to manage policies, to write the proper least privilege policies.
Yeah.
And I think there are not so many tools that you can use actually for that. It's not. I think
it's easy to write a policy, but hard that people do it actually. You know what I mean, or that it sticks.
Yeah, maybe.
Okay, guys, 10 seconds. Oh, surprisingly, there are not so many tools for this. Okay, yes, let's show the answers. Okay, so third place is I'm not aware about it. On second place, yes, we are using at least one tool. And the winner is no, but we are exploring the options, 50%. Okay.
Yeah, most probably because people that join our webinar are IAM experts, most probably, I think. So this is why they use already tools, I think.
Nice. Yeah. Cool. Let's continue.
Okay, so let's continue. So as I said earlier, if you register for our webinar, you're gonna get access to the course. In the course, you'll learn about our AWS IAM best practices. You will learn how to apply them. You will learn more in depth about the tools that I talked today, and also you will learn about how you can automate them in CI/CD tool. If you use infrastructure as code, or maybe you have a special use case where you need these tools in your CI/CD pipelines. So I guess now, Petra, you tell us more about our course structure.
Yeah, so you can follow this course, of course, on our Everable platform. You have 2 sites. You have a preparation lab where you learn all the things you need to know to do the hands-on lab. So the preparation lab will take around 30 minutes. And then the hands-on lab is 3 hours straight, so no breaks. It is really like 3 hours and then it's done. No breaks, no nothing after it's destroyed. So be aware of that when you start this hands-on lab. Let's go to the next slide. Yeah, so there's a maximum of 3 hours available for hands-on lab, and it needs to be completed in one run, like I said. And yeah, like I also said, after 3 hours, the lab is automatically destroyed if no lab review is requested. So be very aware of this. We have automated checkings, hints, solutions are all available. If that not helps, we also have support available, and retries in the events are possible. If you completed all this, please fill in the survey. You will help us enormously with that. And also don't expect that not everything is perfect yet. And we're working on that. So be aware of that. Don't expect like a 10. But do expect an 8. Most importantly, have fun. We do this to learn, but also to have some fun. Yeah. Also, after you complete this, you get a certificate, which is very nice to share on your LinkedIn, put on your resume to show what you're capable of after completing this course. And then we are curious, do you have some questions after this webinar? You can drop them in the chat. We'll open it. Or maybe you are so clear that it is not necessary. Are there questions? It's quiet today.
Let's maybe
Okay.
wait for 1 minute or no? Yeah, okay, if there are no questions.
There are no questions.
Yeah,
No, there are no questions.
People can register then on the Power Platform if they didn't do so already.
Yeah.
Here is the QR code.
Yeah, so you can open your camera on your phone, so you don't need a special app for it. Just open the camera and then scan the screen and be in the course. But I was wondering, the course is better on your laptop, right, than on your mobile device to do?
Yeah, I think the hands-on lab, you cannot do it on the mobile device.
Oh yeah, so be sure that you switch to your computer if you want to do the hands-on lab.
Yeah, exactly.
So the preparation lab you can do on the mobile because it's a lot of reading and information absorption. But the hands-on lab you really need a computer for. So be aware of that. I don't see any questions coming in, so I think this is it. Thank you so much for sharing your knowledge.
Thank you.
And launching this course. And everybody who's joined this webinar, thank you as well for joining and your attention. And we see you next time. The next one is on 13th of April by Inge and Matthias about Sama Sandbox. You can register as well on LinkedIn and on our platform. Also, that comes with a free access to a course, which you also can join. So put it in your agenda. Next one, 13th of April, 4 p.m. Wednesday, Sama Sandbox by Inge and Matthias. Thank you.
Thank
Bye
you
bye.
all. Bye.